So my name is Deb Mostert. I'm an Ipswich-based artist. I've been an artist all my life, so mid-career, 35-year practice. I think like every child, you're drawing from a young age, and I was just one of those ones who didn't drop the pencil in grade 3. I just kept on drawing, and it's always been my life. That was what I knew at school. I was going to be having to do something within the arts. But I started in commercial art, so back in the mid-80s, I was working as a paste-up artist back in those days, before computers. Yeah, it's archaic now when we think about cutting and pasting, when it was actually using dark rooms, bromide cameras, spray glue, all those wonderful things that are totally obsolete now. So I worked in advertising and promotions for the movie industry, cinema advertising back in the 80s. Stopped to have a family early 90s, and when I resurfaced from a few years of child raising, everything had gone to computers. So I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do my fine art. So yeah, that became the trajectory then. And then a few years later, I went and did my fine art degree at Griffith University in Brisbane, and I've just been enjoying the journey ever since, just making bodies of work around things that are interesting to me. It's mostly been still life because my heritage is Dutch. Both my parents are born in the Netherlands. I went to visit Holland for the first time in the middle of my degree, and realised my connection to a vast history of still life artists, obviously out of that sort of school. So I went with that, and my love of objects and collections has fueled that. But in recent years, being at the museum a lot drawing has connected me into sort of my love of the natural world and my love of objects. Somehow it collided at the museum, and I thought, wow, this is a space I really want to investigate. And so that's where a lot of this work has come from. The taxi, well, it was research, really, in that, and it was so fascinating. So as an artist, and I'm a representational artist based in observation, so for me to have an opportunity to look over the shoulder of someone who's pulling apart an animal and to see how the mechanics work and how the inside of it was. I just drew and drew and drew over several years. I was actually researching for another project, but I just felt like this was so profound to see something go from just being an object in dead animal out of a freezer, and then somehow being reanimated. And the process of that and the history of that and how that fits in a museum space was also interesting. So I volunteered at the museum at that particular time. There was a team of volunteers who did most of the taxidermy at the museum, and I was schooled started to learn that museum process, but then I also did a rat taxidermy day-long workshop and produced the 2 really bad specimens that are in the show. And of course, we all laugh at bad taxidermy. We all sort of horrified it when it's done badly. And so there's the humour in that, and there's the kind of push-pull of like, There's websites devoted to bad taxidermy, and I realised after doing it how difficult it is. It's an art form to make an animal because without going into gory details, it's confronting. And the process means you've got to do it really well for it to look representational of that animal. So I visited different museums and looked at taxidermy in different places, and it's a fascinating, on so many levels. It fascinates me and horrifies me. It's the push-pull. Yeah, definitely. My parents have always been amazingly supportive. And my aunt was a commercial artist in the 70s, 60s, 70s. So she's been my mentor and inspiration all through my life, because she was doing what I thought that's what I want to do. I mean, we've diverged into different paths now, but Mika has been very influential. And then I think it's just, your heritage, you're looking at your heritage in terms of, for myself, it's my family heritage in the Netherlands. It's that lineage of painters and makers. I come from, my family members have been involved in sort of their own art practices, and not in a professional way, but just making. My mum's a big maker. So I think that when you're steeped in that, it's just inevitable, really, isn't it? And I will latch on to people who have you sense a kindred spirit in their artists and makers. We're a happy tribe. I've been teaching for the last 20 years, and I like it. I teach the sketchbook practice, because I feel like if I can help people see how they can take this daily practice of drawing and just integrate it into their life, how much joy that brings. It brings me so much joy, and I just love to share that with people. So that's mostly where my teaching, and of course the sketchbook, and you can do anything in it, paint, draw, whatever. So whatever it is that you're interested in you can use the sketchbook as a vessel for that. How do you make a memory last? How do you document the good things that you can be grateful for in your life? That's what I use. A lot of the thing I use the sketchbook for. It's also my process. It's also my research. It's lots of things, and there's nothing that can't go into a book like that. And it becomes chronological. It becomes a record of your life and your thoughts. It's a way to get above yourself and look down on what you're thinking about and see where your interests are and what you value. So I do enjoy the sketchbook practice, and I like to share that with others. And so most of the teaching in the last 20 years has been around that. It has been a journey of probably about 5 years, I think. I was talking to someone last night, and I thought, I think it's been about 5 years, because this is a continuation of a body of work that I started and was shown at the Tweed Regional Gallery 2 years ago. Since then, once I knew I was coming here, I was able to expand that and incorporate things that were maybe more coastal to this body. But it has been because of my visiting the Queensland Museum since about 2017, and basically understanding or becoming aware of animal objects in nature and in culture. I mean, culture is everywhere, all around us, and I understand that not everybody is interested in or even sees taxidermy as nature, but that wasn't a real animal at one point, but now it's just an object, but a valuable one. So it became a huge rabbit warren of different conceptual concerns and different interests. My interest was just going in 100 different directions, and so the show is a little bit of a Wunderkammer. It's a cabinet of curiosities. It's a German term, and those were cabinets that people put in their homes, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, where they were trading around the world. They were bringing all these things back, and they would display them in their own private museum. And these were the precursors to our modern museums, the Wunderkammers, the cabinets of curiosity. And so I feel like, wow, everything is something. Everything is interesting to me, and as a collector, I know the desire to own it and put it in a space. But I'm during my time over the last few years, I've really been unpacking the value of that, and then in light of how the environment's coping, why do I want to hold and capture? Why do I want to own things? Why do I need to have it? Wouldn't I be maybe better just to draw it and leave the shell on the beach or whatever? So all of this is just about ideas that I've been trying to work through myself. That's the joy of being an artist. You get to ask the questions. You don't necessarily have the answers. You just get to ask the questions of the community, of all of us. Like, what are we doing? What's of value? And losing our animals losing species off the planet is just not, doesn't feel right. Have the conversations with themselves and with their families, particularly, I suppose, the cultural stuff. I mean, we love making objects, animal objects. The objectification of animals is something that's been with us since the beginning of time. I suggest, can we live in some sort of redemptive space with our fellow creatures, where we're not harming them, where we're somehow I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of this. It's just that it's sometimes you feel that it's not right. And I don't even know myself. But it's just a conversation starter, if nothing else. But conservation is something that belongs to all of us. Those conversations have to happen. Face value, it's just a fun plush toy. But there is a barb in the tail, and that is deliberately placed there so that people might just snag on it and go, oh, hang on a minute, I'll think about this for a minute. What does this, is this useful? That's all I'm asking. I don't know. Is that enough to ask? I think continuing to observe, that's the basis of my practice, is that observation and being present wherever I am and enjoying the natural world and enjoying anything. Everything is something. And I'm not sure where it's going to go. I don't know what's next necessarily, but I'm looking forward to getting into some natural environments. I think that's a good antidote, a good place to start and see what comes from observation. Just that's all I can do. It's all I can offer is a lens on the world through my own experiences. So we'll see. I'm excited. Who knows? Never know where the next exhibition's going to come from. Yeah, but this is actually, I'm probably going to take a break, to be honest, and not exhibit. I think I've had something like 23 shows in 20 years or something. So I've said next year I'm not exhibiting, but I feel like gratitude's a big key in just enjoying what you do and what you make and what you can offer as an artist. And yeah, I think it's probably advice for myself is not to overthink it, but just to respond and trust that what you've been given is and your response to what you're looking at and what you're experiencing is going to be worth something. So get your sketchbook out, make some notes, do some drawings, see where it goes. So that's why I keep spruiking the sketchbook practice, because I feel it is a really good way when I'm creatively dry. And we all go through sort of drought periods where we just don't know what's next and we don't know where it's going to come from. We try and force something. I always go back to my books, sketchbooks, and it's I've over the years put down so many ideas thinking, I'll get back to that. I want to do that, but I don't have time right now. So I'll park it safely in my sketchbook and know that idea is sitting there waiting for me when I have more margin or more time. And so it becomes a reservoir of potential for you, and just enriches your life. So get a sketchbook.